Hi, I'm Ildiko Spinfisher. I'm the founder of Life Retuning, a psychological human energy-based modality which sidesteps the mind. I'm known as the Quantum Wizard. I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs globally to unlock their greatest potential and upgrade their success. I run workshops and courses teaching about energy wisdom. I feel blessed to have the opportunity to share with you on the Be Woke podcast show, and I want to thank you for being here with us today.
Hi everyone, my name is Julie Salant and I am an animal communicator and transformational intuitive coach. My gift is that I am able to see negative energies that are blocking you and remove them with light language and bring in positive energy to bring you back into alignment. I'm also an animal communicator, and I really love talking with Ildiko because she brings the science to what our discussions are, and I'm the intuitive part. Thank you for being here. We're looking forward to having you on all the podcasts. Thanks so much. Hey everyone, Julie Salant and Ildiko Spinfisher.
Hi.
We're back. This is episode 3. We are going to pick up where we left off, and this is going to be so fun as always. So we were talking about energy. We were talking about how Ildiko works with energy and how she changes energy from something negative or traumatic into a positive. But what we really want to talk about right now is moving from what you want, what you think you want, and what you really need. Because as we know, the conscious mind is maybe 10% of what's running but the subconscious mind is 90%, and the subconscious is running the show. And as we were saying, it's 2 totally different shows most of the time because your subconscious comes out to play at night in your dreams, but it will also kind of show up in weird tendencies. Your ego mind is completely different than your subconscious mind. So let's dive in and talk about kind of how that works, and then a little bit about what you think you need and what you really need are 2 totally different things.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is the time of year when we're making New Year resolutions, and so one of the other factors that makes it very difficult to successfully change a habit is when your conscious mind, you're saying, "I really want this. I really want to, create this new habit." But in your unconscious mind, you're saying, "I don't deserve this," or there's some sort of resistance, some sort of block that I can promise you, if you put the conscious mind and the unconscious mind in a boxing ring, the unconscious mind will win hands down every time.
Yes.
So that's why there's this struggle. There's this conflict going on quite often between what you think you actually want in life and what your unconscious mind is running. It can cause tremendous conflict and tremendous problems. I see it showing up in the symptomality in my clients' lives. So I can have a 5-minute conversation with somebody and I can already tell what sort of unconscious self-limiting beliefs they are running.
Wow.
Yeah, because I look at the symptoms, I look at the recurring patterns of behavior, and I can pretty much predict what I'm going to find when I check energetically.
And which, for a lot of women, we have been taught to look a certain way is acceptable in our culture.
Yeah.
If you don't look a certain way, you don't wear something that everyone else is wearing. And, it can go on and on and on. And it gets to be a point where people are trying to keep up with each other in this race that doesn't really even exist.
Correct.
But beneath all that is the thought of, I am not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have the right connections. Say I want to start my own business, pretend I'm saying that. And all these thoughts subconsciously are running underneath that thought of, I want my own business, but underneath is all these powerful, I'm not worth it. Or even worse, I tried before, it hasn't worked before. What do you think it's going to work again for?
Yeah, correct.
Right?
And this is where self-sabotage comes in. So we've got various things going on here, but I want to talk about the survival calculation today.
Okay.
So the survival calculation is my term for what your mind is doing all the time. So here's a question. What do you think is the mind's number one job?
To protect itself and keep you
protect,
safe.
To keep you from dying.
Yes.
Effectively, it's as rock bottom basic as that, to keep you surviving physically.
Yes.
Physically, only physically.
Okay.
So we have this entity, if you like, we'll call it an entity, which is our mind. Its job is to keep us physically alive, as we say, breeding and breathing, right?
Okay.
Those are the two things it's responsible for. Outside of that, it actually is not its job. Your quality of life is not your mind's job or business.
Okay.
Think about it in those terms. So you can be a really miserable person, but still be alive.
Right.
As far as your mind's concerned, it's done its job. It's checked the box. That's it.
Okay.
End of. So what your mind is constantly doing is it is checking for threats to your physical survival in every situation. Now, it's what I call the survival calculation. So what is that? Your mind takes the information of the experiences that you have had up until this point, and it makes a calculation based on the threat levels of the current moment or future moments, and that is only based on what you've experienced up until this point. It does not think outside of those parameters. And so if you think about it, that is a very, very narrow viewpoint and makes it difficult to experience or even imagine anything outside of what you've already experienced. Because what you haven't experienced, you can't feel, you can't experience.
Right.
So this is where a lot of the problem comes from. A lot of the problem comes from why we can't change things easily. And I don't care how many people out there are telling you can change yourself overnight. Don't worry, I've got the perfect system for that. I'm sorry, what it comes down to is you have to understand what your mind is doing in order to get past the survival calculation. It is the only way you can make those changes. So we have this survival calculation. So what is the answer? The answer is to lower the threat levels that the mind is perceiving about a particular situation or issue, right?
Okay, yep.
Then it goes, oh, that's harmless. That's okay. We'll allow that. That's not going to kill us, right?
Right.
So if you can change a vibrational frequency to remove the emotional charge that a trauma, a bad experience had, and the mind's not going, we're not doing that again. We nearly died last time. We're not going to do that again. If you can remove the emotional charge, then the mind looks at that memory and goes, oh, it wasn't that bad. Actually, it wasn't bad at all. Now I can't even remember what was the problem. If you have a similar experience now, it's just going to go, yeah, we're fine with that. So you reduce the threat. That's the way through, and that's the way past all of that problem that other systems come up against immediately, the resistance against change.
Wow, because when I think of that, it seems as though, you're talking about just your own experiences, which are very limited, no matter what you've done. So, and I always think of it as it's trying to protect you from the dinosaur around the corner, but we all know there aren't any dinosaurs, but it does not know that. So as you said, you can be miserable, but if you're alive, it's said, we're good, we're good over here, but you're not reaching your potential, you're not happy, you haven't met your goals. So that I agree with you that, so its job is to keep you alive, but nothing more.
Correct. And I heard this fantastic saying, which is that the mind knows no answers and the heart knows no questions. Your mind will continuously be looking for the answers. It will never stop. It will never come to a point where it goes, oh, I'm satisfied now. Have you ever experienced that moment where you go, oh, everything is answered. I'm perfectly happy and content. I never want to ask anything again. No, because the mind is like a butterfly. It lands, and then, even if it's gone through a whole load of, you've gone through a whole load of thinking and gone, oh, right, yeah, I get it now. The next thing the mind will bring in is, yes, but I never considered this. Oh my God, I'm off again. Right?
Yes, very true.
So the thing is, my solution is just switch off and get away from the mind. Don't do the mindfulness stuff, because the mindfulness just gets your energy focused back on the mind. And then what it's like is a beehive, which you're poking with a stick. Well, what's going to happen?
Yeah,
There's going to be more buzzing, right?
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is get the mind out of the way. And I have tools and techniques for this with, what I do, but switch the mind off. Stop thinking so much. Connect in with your heart, because your mind does not do emotions. It creates the circumstances for emotions to happen, but it doesn't feel emotions. If I said, to you listeners, can you intellectually understand anger?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind's going, what?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, but if you focus on how does anger feel, that's not a mind thing. The mind doesn't do feelings. It's the heart that does feelings.
Right.
If I say feel what anger's like, you'll remember it. You'll remember the feeling of it when it happened and go, oh yeah, I know what anger feels like.
Yep.
So this is what we've got to realize, that the mind is finite and it's only responsible for a certain part of our lives, which it does amazingly well, organizing, scheduling, things like that. It's incredibly good at. But we need to come away from it. If we want to live in 2020 and forward, this is the new paradigm of consciousness. This is the new way of living. For me particularly, it's about living energetically and not going to the mind as the automatic go-to, give me the answers, tell me what to do, listening to what it says. It's going, nope, yes, thank you very much, I've heard from you. Now I'm going to use the rest of my consciousness to find out the answer.
And that's what I do, is reconnect people back to their hearts, because I believe that, and I know from my discussions and from the research that I've seen on the Heart Math Institute, which we both love, and they're pioneers in this, obviously, it's all about the heart. So I believe that all of the a lot of the unhappiness that you have is because of what Ildiko just said, but also because you're disconnected from your heart. And your heart knows your higher self and what was best for you. The problem is, it may very often come disguised as a loss to your mind. So it may look like, and I always say this, you're going for an interview and everything looks great, and the money's really good, and then your heart says, this is not going to be the place for you. You're not going to be happy here. And you just completely disregard that, because your mind's like, wait, money's good. I can have everything, that I can have my benefits, even though, but your heart's saying you won't be happy here. And you override that because you think your head knows, but really your heart is the one that's trying to express to you how you will either be, thrive in a situation or not.
That's it. And you nailed it, because your mind doesn't care about you being happy. You just said it exactly right. It cares about surviving. It's the physical things. If I don't have money, I can't eat, I'm going to die. Right. That's it. Yeah.
And then it goes into this.
Correct.
And that's why people are fighting with themselves so much, but it's also compounding that with what we had talked about in the last podcast, which is that underlying the self-worth, the negative thoughts, that the subconscious and conscious. So it's a lot to take in, but it's really actually very simple. As you said, the mind just wants to keep you alive, period, end of story, done, box checked. But the heart wants to keep you happy, because it will remember love, compassion, empathy, and it wants to repeat those experiences, because it knows that's what made your heart sing. That's what made you happy and brought you joy and abundance. That's
right. It's the quality of life. That's what the heart is interested in, the quality of life. How you experience every moment, every heartbeat. In fact, when we talk back about energy again, your heart is much more connected into the reality of the energy that you are experiencing. Your mind will tell you something different. It will not give you the truth quite often. because number one, it doesn't have all the information. It has a narrow band of information because it's a translator of the entirety of the information that is available to us. And we'd go completely crazy if we had all of that coming in.
Yes, yes.
So it actually narrows down the amount of information that it gives to us consciously, that we are consciously aware of. But the thing to understand here is that you are being given edited information. It's like a summary, you know? It's like instead of the 50 pages, you're getting one paragraph.
Here's your cliff
Right?
notes. Good luck with that.
Exactly.
Go on along with that. Go on, go.
Yeah.
I mean, your heart's got the whole book. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect
exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
So when we're trying to change our lives, we need to tap into our heart.
Yes.
And what our heart wants, because our heart knows what's going to make us happy versus just the head and the ego mind, which is fear-based and keeping us alive. Because being happy and being alive are two totally different.
Correct. That's right. And it will also, your heart will also indicate, just as you said with the interview example, your heart will indicate the truth of a situation. It will tell you this is good for you. This is bad for you. And if you don't listen, you're going to end up in trouble. So, your mind is listening to your mind is the fastest way to end up in trouble. That's what I've discovered.
I agree. And every time I have discounted that thought, I have paid for it in spades.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
Yeah. And I believe that it's completely connected to your intuition.
Yes.
So in the next episode, I think we should talk about what your heart is connected to and why it's making these amazing, recommendations for you, and how we can kind of get rid of the ego mind and put it to the side. Because I think that for a lot of people, it's a struggle. You really, the way we're built is we are always thinking about what our mind sees, because the other part is subconscious. And that's why people say, well, thanks heart, but I'm going to go with the ego because the money's good. And you go down the list. And what we need to do is kind of reverse that and say, thank you very much, ego mind, for telling me that. I'm going to move over here. And I've noticed that when you do that consciously, you say, thank you for the information. I'm going to keep on going in this direction. It shuts down. It's kind of like it's acknowledged, and then it's like, oh, okay, all right, she's going to go over there. Okay. But it seems to be worse when you kind of just try to move away from it without kind of going, I see this without emotion. You're seeing your thoughts without emotion. That's a whole different topic. But does that make sense to you?
Oh, totally. Because as they say, what you resist persists. If you go up against your mind, you're going to lose, because your mind has so many, what I call, they are threat mechanisms. It's so smart and so sophisticated when it comes to avoiding threats that you're going to lose out. Yes. It's not going to happen. So, yes, it's, and in fact, in the next episode, I want to share a tool that I've developed. It's a very, very simple tool, but I'd love listeners to give it a go and see, if we can get some feedback from you to see how it worked for you. Because I'm going to give you something that can just immediately drop the level of activity in your mind.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Okay, everyone. So that's going to be our next podcast. Tune in, because we are excited to do this for you. So from Julie Salant and Ildiko. We'll see you on the next podcast. Tune in, because we're going to dive deeper into this, and she's going to give us a tool where you can listen to your heart. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Take care. We would like to take your hand and step into this year in a different, empowered way that no one is discussing. We invite you to come with us on this journey to show you a different way of being, to get to the deep truth of things, instead of having another year of ups and downs with the same patterns. In essence, we are going to help set you up for success.
We have a SMART 2-part experience just for the listeners. And the SMART experience is an acronym for: the S is for simplicity, the M is for motivation, the A is for action, the R is for reconnection, And the T is for transformation. And we are offering an expansive experience first with Ildiko, who will remove blockages with energy, and then Julie, who will introduce the light language to infuse you with light, clarity, and positive purpose. So this is a large transformation in not only how you'll feel energetically, but also how you will experience and view the world and opportunities that are open to you. And this will be a session with each of us individually. If you'd like more information, please click the link. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast.